watching the birds come up to the feeder.
We have a feeder right outside our living room window here too. It's so much fun to watch them. The challenge has been that it's in a place that a squirrel can reach, and convincing him that it's really not a good idea to come to the feeder has been a bit of a challenge.
So ours stick on the windows, so the squirrels can't really get to them.
Yeah.
We had one who tried once, and boy, he climbed up the siding and was trying to lean out and kept falling off. And
well, that would have been entertaining.
Yeah, it was. I just sat there and watched him. It was a hoot. They're very industrious.
They are, yeah.
Give them points for that.
All the things that we've tried that we were just sure would slow him down a bit didn't slow him down a microsecond.
Ed used to have he had an eternal war with the squirrels when I was a kid. He'd throw footballs at them to knock them out of the trees. And so even in his old age, he was always trying to invent something that the squirrels couldn't get to his bird feed. So I bought him a sweatshirt that had Most Wanted and it had mugshots of a squirrel on it. So.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Morning, Sylvia and Dan.
Good morning.
Morning, everyone.
Where are you now? Are you back in Indiana?
We are just down the road from you.
Hey, that bookcase looks familiar.
Yeah. Hi, Nancy. How's Nancy?
Hear her?
No.
Good lip read, though.
I'm feeling much better.
Oh, I'm glad.
Good.
Trying to do more. Some things, but making other things. So I don't know when I'm going to be full strength.
Are you forced to do therapy? Are you motivated to do therapy?
4 months.
4 months. I'm walking kitchen through the family room and the dining room and our bedroom and back.
Oh,
I get several steps in.
That's good. That's good.
Morning, Dan.
Outdoors is a challenge, though.
Good morning.
For when we go outside, if the ground's uneven.
Yeah.
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 As we're on sidewalks and stuff or the driveway, it's fine.
Well, hopefully it'll get better.
Got a little sooty the other day because we were down burning on our burn pile, and she decided to lean over and pick up a stick and about ended up in the fire.
Oh no.
Just went flat. So an old man and an old woman trying to get an old woman up off the ground
out of the fire
before she burned up. Our daughter asked if she was doing her practicing her funeral pyre.
Jeez.
That's the kind of thing they have. I raised them well. They're sarcastic.
Yeah. Morning, John.
Good morning, Sylvia. Morning, Dan.
Morning, John.
Chris.
It's like they're banking.
Hi, Chris and Dan. Hello, Sue.
And Sue.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
We have quite the range of birds coming to the feeder today. We've had redbirds, black-capped chickadees, blue jays, red-headed woodpeckers. It's like, it looks like air traffic control out our window. They zoom in and out to the tree and bushes one at a time.
We have those too, and we've had downy woodpeckers lately too.
Have you?
Yeah, we do too. We did. The bird feeder hasn't been stocked since about 6 weeks ago, so they all left, and we'll see if how soon they come back. There were blue jays yesterday.
I think they're all down at Brent's place.
Yeah, I think so too. They said, we eat better down here. Morning, Chip.
Good morning.
Hey, Chipper.
Hey. Everybody
Yes.
doing well?
Yes, thank you.
Good.
What a little puny snowstorm you've had compared to what we've had.
For sure.
Yeah, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it's been just right for me.
It's snowing right now.
Yeah.
I don't like snow at all.
Oh, well, we've had what, at least three times, maybe 4 times of 6 to 8 inches
Oh my.
each. So
We're way below normal here on snow.
I don't know if they even have grass in Iowa because I couldn't see any.
Is that pretty normal for this time of year in Iowa, Dan?
I'd say it's pretty normal, yes.
Okay.
So Sylvia reverted to her childhood, and the first thing she did was make a snowman.
Oh, okay.
I was just going to ask.
I sat inside and watched her.
I'm with you, Dan.
Well, I asked him to bring me a hat for the snowman. He did, and some eyes. He used milk jug bottle lids,
Okay.
eyes, and brought me a carrot. So, he helped.
I used to build families. I'd have the mom and dad, and then I'd have a child and a smaller child and then a baby.
Yeah. Well, this was just a little snowman. We had an appointment in town, so we only had so much time, and I tried to judge how long it would take to make that little man before we needed to be in Marshalltown. Hi, Dale.
Oh. But Nancy built one of her snow families in Newcastle. The newspaper actually stopped by and got pictures of it because all the little kids in the neighborhood were helping, and they made a dog to go with the family.
Oh.
Looked like a little Yorkshire Terrier.
Oh, cute.
And Maria was at Guilford, and they had a 12-inch snowstorm, which is really unusual for North Carolina. They canceled classes for a week, and the students built a whale on the campus.
Wow.
You just get enough students out there working, you can have lots of snow brought to the same place. And they did have a magnificent big whale. I mean, probably life-size whale.
Wow.
Well, I know Sylvia is a kind person because she put the snowman out of his misery before we left by cutting his head off.
Wow,
Sylvia.
that's cold.
Well, he was already suffering. He'd lost his eyes and his nose had fallen off. A big dent in his head.
And it was falling over.
That's right.
Coup de grace.
I didn't want the neighbors to think badly of us for neglecting him.
I don't know. Quaker kill snowman doesn't sound very good.
I just put him back to his original form, back on
Okay.
the ground,
The Sylvia giveth and the Sylvia taketh away.
Something like that.
Well, I don't think we're going to have enough to snowman today.
I haven't seen a lot of snow since I lived in Connecticut.
When Carly was in Barrow, Alaska, she said they all celebrated the first snow because there was no flora up there. So if there wasn't snow, it was mud and everything was just dirty. And so this was the beautification of the season when they had a first snow enough to cover up all the mud.
Wow.
At what temperature did that happen?
They had temperatures above freezing through part of the summer when the sun was up all the time. But then usually you'd get a snow in maybe August. And then it was cold and white for the rest of the winter season through about April, I suppose.
Dale, is it snowing now in Iowa?
Not right at the moment. It did last night.
Mm.
Not a lot. Inch maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a light snow.
Yeah.
Dale Doral, have you done any music sharing on Zoom?
No, I haven't tried on Zoom. I've recorded a few things on YouTube, but the signal's not that strong, I don't think. Matter of fact, just talking to you, everybody moves and starts and stops.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out some things. To figure out how to get things out. But other than YouTube, I haven't.
Yeah.
But John, you didn't try any more backgrounds?
No pictures. I got a little filter today. I put the cream filter on.
Okay. I was kind of curious if you'd experiment with something else behind you.
Yeah. I didn't do that yet.
So Sylvia and Dan, how long are you all back for?
Not sure. We're going to just kind of play along, probably a month. We do have appointments for our COVID test on the 8th of February.
The shots.
The shots, yeah, shots, not tests.
Yeah, we moved ours up again. We're up to the 27th of January now.
Oh, and where are you going for that?
Methodist, downtown.
That's
Yeah,
what I've heard is the quickest event.
Yeah, I just looked and, you know, just checked what was available and moved ahead a week, so.
We're going downtown tomorrow for Nancy's to Riley.
Yeah.
She was short enough to qualify as a child.
Okay.
Good one, Brent.
Brother Davis had a big frustration trying to get his scheduled. They say that you get online and you make the appointment, or you call and you make the appointment, and he's made hundreds of calls and not been able to get through. So he's not even scheduled yet. So a lot of people are coming to Florida to get their shots that don't live there. Morning, Betty.
You can speak whenever you're ready. They just said morning.
Good morning.
I gave her permission to speak.
Oh,
I know.
no.
I'm right where I could hit him, you know.
Morning, Dave.
Morning.
Dave.
Snowing in Indiana right
Hey,
now.
morning, Norma.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Sue.
Is anybody wearing their mittens that have been repopularized by Mr. Sanders?
Those are so cute.
All the memes that they've made with him in hundreds of places is just hilarious.
It is. And what's
I
funny is
remember
I
having-
think he'd think they're funny.
Yeah. I remember having mittens as a child that had a string up one sleeve and down the other, so you wouldn't lose them when you took them off.
I did that to my kids.
Yeah, Mom had knitted us mittens and put a string through the sleeves so we wouldn't lose them.
I posted one of the memes is dogs playing poker, you know, those, because that's by a Quaker artist and Bernie's in there. And one of my friends posted on it, goes, this is not accurate. That can't be real because you can't play poker wearing mittens. Well, it is time to begin. Sylvia's the worship leader today. Do friends have any joys or concerns to share before we center into some silence, and then Sylvia will speak out of the silence?
I have.
Norma.
Okay, I have a concern. One of our retired teachers from Decatur Middle School, Marilyn Bunner, some of you may remember the name, taught there for many years. She has COVID and has had for several months, has been in and out of the hospital. Her oxygen levels keep going down. Most recently, she's been at a rehab, and her oxygen levels went down and they rushed her back to the hospital again. So please keep Marilyn Bunner in your prayers.
Steve needs your prayers too. He's having a relapse, so he's not feeling at all well this morning. His immune system, which is never good, seems to be pretty well shot at this point. He just can't quite get over it. He'll have a good week or so and then be back flat on his back again. So he needs your prayers this morning.
Let's hold I wanted to say Miriam because I think of Miriam Bunner. Ms. Bunner and Steve in our prayers and God's healing light and love. And if you'd all please mute yourselves, we'll go into silence and Sylvia will speak when led.
Well, we've been talking about acting like children, and that's exactly what this message is about today. And my title is Like a Child Comes. From Luke 18, people were also bringing babies to Jesus to have him touch them. When the disciples saw this, they rebuked them. But Jesus called the children to him and said, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of God belongs to such as these. I tell you the truth, anyone who will not receive the kingdom of God like a child will never enter it." And from Matthew 18, at that time the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" He called a little child and had him stand among them, and he said, "I tell you the truth, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever humbles himself like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoever welcomes a little child like this in my name welcomes me. But if anyone causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a large millstone hung around his neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea." One of the hymns I like from our old dark red hymnal, well, and even the really old black hymnal that we had at West Newton, are these words written by Jemima Luke sometime before 1906. She wrote, "I think when I read that sweet story of old when Jesus was here among men, how he called little children as lambs to his fold, I should like to have been with them then. I wish that his hands had been placed on my head, that his arms had been thrown around me, and that I might have seen his kind look when he said, 'Let the little ones come unto me.'" What is it about children that make Jesus say they are the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? Well, I couldn't find any expert sources to check my answers, so I submit these characteristics from my own experience to see if they make any sense to you. Number one, children have a limited view of the world and an innocent or a naive way of looking at things. We know that because they say or ask things that seem funny to us. Here's a sample. As a small toddler, Maria didn't even ever want to take a nap. She was about 4 years old when she said, "Mom, how old are you when you start getting tired?" Well, now that she's over 50, I think she's figured that out. Dan has a 1952 Alice Chalmers tractor that he has the engine in the back of it. It's a strange looking thing in my mind. It's tucked away in the corner of what he calls his carriage house, where all his precious vehicles are garaged. Dan's son, Doug, has fond memories of helping Dan rebuild the engine and says he wants that old tractor someday. I think he was about 10 when he rebuilt it, 12, something like that. Doug was. Several years after that rebuilding job, Dan's daughter's family, whose home is near Minneapolis, had been to the farm for a visit. 5-year-old Elijah found great fun in riding on that old tractor with Grandpa Dan. After Elijah was back home in Minneapolis, he called Grandpa and asked if Dan could bring that tractor to his house the next time he came. Dan asked Elijah about how you think I'm going to get it there. And Elijah said, "Well, you can drive it to us." Obviously, Elijah had a limited concept of how far it was to Minneapolis from Marshalltown, or he had an optimistic view of how long that tractor would run. I'm not sure which. Sometimes we remember things that children say, and we keep the memory going by repeating their words later in applicable situations. Dale and I were playing cards at Steve and Jan Miller's table one evening when Jason was about 5, came rushing up anxiously to his mother and said, Mom, what time is it?" And she responded, well, it's about 8 o'clock. And he stomped his foot and frowned. And she said, well, why are you upset about that? He said, well, it was a good day and it got dark. He simply was enjoying his play outside and was aggravated that it had to end. I can't tell you how many times over the years after we've had a wonderful day, we have used Jason's words. Well, it was a good day and it got dark, because we just didn't want our good times to end. What a wonderful attitude for a child. We also flushed the toaster when it seemed to our 2-year-old Eric that pushing the handle down on the toaster was a lot like pushing the handle down on the toilet. We've been flushing the toaster for decades. Jesus wants us to come to him with unspoiled attitudes or the cynical views we often develop when we grow older. Second characteristic, children accept the simplicity of things. They have a way of believing everything you say is factual. When I was a music teacher, the first grade students were lined up at the door waiting for their classroom teacher to arrive to lead them back to their class. It was the day before Thanksgiving, and I had asked the children how many of them would be going to Grandma's house for a big dinner the next day, and how many of them were going to eat at home and have the big dinner at their house. One bright-eyed little girl asked, Mrs. Graves, what are your plans for tomorrow? Well, I answered something like this. Well, as soon as I get home from school, we're all going to pile in my van and head to Wichita, Kansas to have Thanksgiving dinner at my sister's house. Then the teacher arrived to pick up her class, and the next one came in. But about 10 minutes after the dismissal bell rang, I had a phone call from that little girl's mother. She said, Mrs. Graves, will you please talk to Kimberly and tell her you're not expecting her to go to Wichita with you tomorrow? She thinks she's supposed to get in your van and go to your sister's house for Thanksgiving. Well, as I thought back over what I'd said, it was the part about we're all going to pile in my van that made this girl think I meant her. Here's another sample. Several years ago, when we and Valley Mills friends were hosting Vacation Bible School, Jill Jay's daughters were among our attenders. And on the way home, Jill said her little Emma asked her, Mommy, who cut off God's hands? Jill said, I don't think anyone cut off God's hands. Why do you ask that? And Emma said, well, Sylvia said God has no hands but our hands and he needs our help. So why doesn't God have any hands? Don't you just love it that they take so seriously what we say? So by saying what we need to act like to enter the kingdom of heaven, Jesus is saying, have faith like a child. Believe what I say is factual. What would we be like if we believed what Jesus said was factual and meant especially for us personally? Children trust what people tell them. Do we trust what Jesus tells us? Third characteristic. Children know they are little, and therefore they're unpretentious. Think of the children you know who have come to you for help with something or have observed their older siblings playing a game and they long to learn it and they want to be included. Kids know that they don't know everything. They're eager to learn. They're curious to find out things, and they look for someone to teach them. In Jewish culture, probably, children were thought of as insignificant until they were 12. Maybe Jesus is saying to us that we need to have the humility of a child who feels insignificant or low in society. The humility of children is very evident. It's a beautiful thing to watch. Jesus is saying that humility and the desire to learn of him is what exalts us in his eyes. Number 4, children have a sense of innocent wonder that is fresh and sweet and a thrill to behold. We probably can tell of a time when our own children, loved to play with the big boxes more than they liked the Christmas gifts that they came in. Once I offered to take care of a couple of children who hadn't been to our house before. Their parents were going out for an evening dinner, so after I fed the children, we went down to the basement to play. We gathered all the sofa cushions and spread blankets over the furniture to build a huge tent that had 4 rooms and 3 doors. When the parents returned to pick up their children, one of the kids excitedly said, "Wow, Mom, we had fun. This place isn't so bad after all." And there was the time that I bought tickets to the Indiana Repertory Theater production of Peter Pan for all of the nieces and nephews that would be visiting at Christmas vacation. Near the end of the play, when the fairy Tinkerbell had been poisoned and was near death, a stagehand stepped out to the edge of the stage and implored the audience to clap with all the energy they had to save Tinkerbell's life. I have a vivid memory of 3-year-old Christina sitting on the edge of her seat and looking at I looked at her face, and her eyes were wide with excitement and hope, and her little hands clapped as hard as they could to make sure that Tinkerbell lived. Maybe that's what Jesus likes. The enthusiasm, the wide-eyed wonder and hope of doing something important like saving a life or at least making someone's life better. When was the last time any of us sat on the edge of our seats with our eyes wide open with excitement about what God would do next in our lives? I'm going to review the 4 characteristics I've spoken about. Children have a limited and naive view of their own world. They accept simple facts as they hear them. They know they are little and are therefore unpretentious. Their wide-eyed wonder is expressed in excitement and hope. No doubt there are other characteristics of children you can name, and maybe you can give examples of situations which illustrate those characteristics. Maybe we've prompted some memories that you have. And may we consider being more like a child as we look toward the entrance of the kingdom of heaven.
was thinking of another trait, that being trust. I don't know how much I really remember or how much I remember just from being told that this happened. But when I was little, my dad had started a game where I would run out the back of the screen door and launch myself off the back porch into his arms. And he loved to play that game, and I guess I did too. And most I remember the story that he came home from work one day and I was excited and I shot out through the screen door and yelled, "Catch me," and launched myself off the porch. The only trouble was he had barely cleared the garage door, which was 30 feet away. And of course, I just face planted in the yard. But I still think of, he said it was a horrible experience for him because he just knew he couldn't cover the distance, but I thought he could. And again, like Sylvia's naivete, it's like my dad will always be at the edge to catch me. And as I thought about that, I thought about trusting in God as a little child. That idea that we can just launch ourselves and we will be safe. We can trust God. It may not look like it at the minute, but if I think about it and measure distance as a kid to the garage door, no, that was impossible. But I didn't take that into consideration. I just knew. And to have that kind of knowledge and trust to just know that God is there.
When my children were growing up, the exciting part of what their childhood was to me was their curiosity. When they started asking questions and when they started discovering things by looking and feeling and trying and that kind of thing. The one question I remember the most was I was reading Horton hatches the egg to Kristen, I think it was, and there's a line in there about Horton the elephant sitting on the branch on the nest, hatching the egg, and how it wasn't possible because he must weigh a ton. And Kristen said, "Why he weigh his tongue? Why he weigh his tongue?" So she knew about weighing and she knew about tongues, but she didn't know about tons. Why he weigh his tongue? And that was a hard one to explain. You know, he wasn't really weighing his tongue. But curiosity and responsibility of older people to satisfy the curiosity or to answer questions reasonably and sanely, I think is probably the ultimate responsibility of parenthood.
Well, Sylvia, you have stirred some memories of my children's activities at their early ages. And there's 6 years difference in their ages. Andy is 6 years older. But I remember a lot of the things that they did together. And the cardboard boxes. We had an upright full-size freezer delivered, and there was this big box that was left over. And Andy said, what are you going to do with that box? And I said, I don't know. What would you suggest? Well, he went ahead and made it into a submarine, left the outside just like it was, took something that looked like a steering wheel, a small map of the world, and pasted it on the inside of the wall. So I went to the door of the submarine one day, and he was in there, and he said, come on in. So I crawled in, and he said, where do you want to go? So I selected someplace on the map, and we took off. That was the imagination that was fun to watch. There was also, when Andy or Matthew, one of them, was studying about Indians in their elementary school, we had this huge teepee, which the boys slept in every night for a while. There was a big box barn in their bedroom. And I have a picture of a little airplane made out of cardboard, and they're both sitting in the airplane taking off. The joy for me as a parent was that they worked on these projects together. And I think of that often, that how pleasing it was for me as a parent to see them working together, not arguing, just solving problems together and having fun at the same time.
We come to the end of our time together. Are there things other folks would like to share before we say goodbye? Well, thank you, Sylvia, for your words. And I hope we all have a little bit of a childlike day. So, blessings.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia.
I think we're going to go downstairs and build a tent.